Alright, everyone, so I've gotten some questions here and there of how to do the weathering on some of my projects. You might have seen the 69 Chargers that I've done recently. Tank Dragon 2014 wanted to know how I do some weathering, and what I used to do is I used to do the technique with the tester's paint, which is like this stuff, and you can do that. Oxide Fox did a great video on it. I highly recommend you check it out. And I did do a couple of models like that. Actually, I did a majority of them like that. Like this one, for example. So you can get really good effects out of the tester's paint. But I wanted to go ahead and just show off a different type of, technique that you can do. So let's get into this. Now, number one, what is this thing? This is a 1977 Dodge Monaco painted with French blue. And I did a lot of work to it. This is actually pretty much a box stock build, actually. The tires are all from the kit. And, yeah, I just hit that. Let me see, is it broken? No, it's not broken. Okay, we're good. I thought I just broke the car. Tires are all from the kit, and all I did was, these are actually normal, like how you're supposed to peg it into the front. All I did was lift the back end because the way that the car was sitting, it was sitting like that. Because the rear end in this car is way too small for where they want you to peg it into and everything. Like, the way that it sits, it's just ridiculous. It's horrible. But this is an old tooling. Like, and it shows. Like, it's really bad. But there's definitely worse model kits out there, but this one has its issues. It has a lot of flash. You have to remember that. A lot of flash on this kit. Jesus Christ, I think there was more plastic on the car than there was actual Monaco. So what are we going to be using? Okay, let's get into this. I don't think we need this brush, but maybe this one might do. I don't know. I got some water. And what paints we're going to be using is the Vallejo acrylic rain marks, some weather effects. These are really cool. And AK Interactive Rush Streaks and Typhus Corrosion by Citadel. This stuff is really cool. Check this out. Oh, this isn't the open one. Should really label these better. There we go. So here's what the paint looks like, the Typhus Corrosion, because this might be new to some people. It's like this really weird brownish gray stuff, and I'm going to go ahead and paint that on the car just to show you what it looks like. We're going to go ahead and hit some small spots on the car. Okay, that's out of frame. And I'm just going to show you guys what it's like. So, I'm going to paint it over there, all over the armor. And it's acrylic, so I'm not really being too, fancy or anything with it. I'm not being too precise or anything. All I'm doing is just painting it on, getting it all over the armor to kind of dull out that gray color. And what this is going to do is it's going to give it a lot more of a rusty texture to it. I'm getting all around here, all over the gray parts, because I'm sorry. My way of thinking is, if they just welded this stuff to the side of the car, maybe they didn't paint the part of the metal, and it caused it to rust prematurely. So that's why I'm applying it like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get some rust streaks, and we're just going to go down on the side of the vehicle. And this is acrylic, so it's very easy to clean up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the heater and get the rest of the body panels with the same thing. And when we come back, we're going to go ahead and have the car officially ready to go for the rust streaks. Okay, so we are back, and I did some more weathering on the vehicle. As you can see, throughout the entire thing, we now have that rust effect, which I just go ahead and have a little bit of fun with it, with some of the areas, like with some of that brush and everything, I really just spread it around on there to kind of give the look that the rust is kind of spreading. And as you can see, it's kind of like a really, really darkish brown color, but we're going to get into that a little bit. So what I'm going to do is start using the AK Interactive Rust Streaks. And this stuff is really, really cool. Check this out. So what we're going to do is, let's go ahead and pick that up, and then just kind of just streak it down. It doesn't have to be like perfect, and I kind of do it really thin. But you can go heavy in some areas like that, like there I put a lot on. And you can really just kind of go all out with it. And then it's going to need multiple coats, obviously. But it's honestly just really, really fun to work with, because you can really just drag it. And then I learned this trick from Spencer 1984. Just clean the brush off on the top of the vehicle, or even on the hood. Just sort of spread it around up there, and what that's going to do, not only are you cleaning some of the paint off of the brush, you're also dirtying up the vehicle and dry brushing on the top of it. And you could even do like around here and everything. And that's really going to help it, because it's going to give the car a really, really rusty look to it. And that's what you definitely want to go for when you're building a post-apocalyptic vehicle. Because you want to go ahead and just make it look like this car has been through hell. And there you go. That's it going on kind of heavy. You just kind of streak it down. You don't have to use a shitty brush for this. You could use like a regular one. I'm just taking it out of the cap and then streaking it down. And you can do multiple coats over the same thing, make it look heavier. And there you go. And then, again, just gonna clean off the brush. By doing that. On top of the fender, on top of the hood. On the roof, and what that's going to do, start giving you a really rusty look to it. Go ahead and put some under there, and then just sort of streak it down like that. And I put a little bit too much on there, so let me just go ahead and just take a little bit off of there. That went on a little bit too heavy for my liking. And there we go. Fixed it. And again, sort of spread that around. It's heavy there. And there you go. I'm going to get that little spot there because the paint got screwed up there. But you kind of get the gist of what's going on. You just kind of build it up, and I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to take quite a bit amount on here and then just paint it over these parts here to add a little bit more color to the armor, because the armor's all kind of one color right now. It'll just add a little bit more character to it. It'll dry, and I like to do that on all the rusty parts that I hit with this color, with the Typhus Corrosion, just because it'll help the rust stand out instead of just being that kind of dark brown. You can kind of dry brush it into all like the rusted areas, and it'll give it a much better and cooler, more realistic look to it. And I'm just going to go ahead and have some of that go down onto the car. As you can see, just gonna get that spot right there. And I'm gonna clean the brush off on the top of the vehicle. And that's just gonna dirty it up. And I'm gonna go ahead and do multiple coats of this, and when we come back, we're gonna go ahead and do the rain marks. So stick around. So as you can see, after doing multiple coats of that and dry brushing it all around the car, you get a really cool rusty look to the car. And combined with that Citadel paint, it really gets the rust to have a nice texture to it and everything, especially on like this area. It really gives the car a really cool rusty look to it. And I actually used that corrosion on the bumpers as well, and I combined that with the AK Interactive rust streaks like on the license plate area there. So now what we're going to do is probably one of the more harder parts, but you can see this side of the car isn't as heavy as like this side by the doors and everything, so that's kind of cool. You know, you don't want to be too consistent with it. You want to make it look like it's kind of random. And next what we're going to do, and you're going to want to have a paper towel with you when you do this, is the rain marks. This is what goes down the side of the vehicle. Huge shout out to Spencer1984. If you don't watch him, go watch his channel. He's really, really cool. He does a lot of cool models and everything, way better than anything I could do. And he's the one that showed me these types of weathering techniques, so I gotta give him credit there. Or credit is due. There's a bunch of bubbles in there. So this is the rain marks. Looks like that. And this is gonna make the car look really, really filthy if you do it correctly. You have to be very kind of careful with it. I've let the thing kind of dry. I've had it sitting for a little bit since the last update, and we're just going to go ahead and go for it. So this is going to be fun. Oh, and as for the bottom of the car, I forgot to show this off. The bottom of the car really sucks. This is the kind of fun part about this build, is I completely built the engine in this kit. It has the carburetor, the air cleaner, everything that wouldn't be seen, even like the hose that runs to the radiators and everything. All completely built, but I glued the hood down because the hood and the engine detail in this kit isn't that good. And I'm going to go ahead and dry brush some rust streaks under here too, even though you could see it's a rusty texture from all the paint that I put on it. I'm not too concerned about it. That's why I'm probably not going to do too much inside the fender walls. Probably in there I'm going to throw some mud in it and everything, because mud is going to be next on this build. But I'm just not too concerned about it because the rear doesn't have any real fender insides, and the engine detail and everything. Engine detail. And the mud's not really going to work too well if I do that. So that's going to be fun. So let's get right to it. Let's start doing the... Oh boy, this is going to be a bad one. This part makes me nervous, I'm not going to lie. So what you want to do, dip it in, and then just I'm just going to go ahead and wipe it because it goes on super, super heavy. Be very careful with this. dries in the wrong spot, it's gonna look really shitty. So you kind of gotta be careful. And you can kind of see how it's going. I'm gonna dunk it and make it heavier. Get some inside that reflector there. And then just wipe it off. So it's gonna leave some stuff behind. That kind of brownish color you want to get rid of. You can see once it starts drying, it really makes the car look dirty. It got inside there, but that's not too big of a deal. Just gonna streak it down on the side of the car. And there you go. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but it does make the car look a lot more dirty with the rain marks on it. And so that's kind of a little nifty thing. You can see there. So that's how you do rain marks. And next up, we're going to be moving into mud. Alright, and the rain marks are finally dried, and it's kind of hard to see on camera, but I'm going to try my best to show it off. You can kind of see that sort of dark, that lighter brown, and I applied that throughout the whole vehicle, and that gave the vehicle a much more dirty, worn look to it. I wasn't too happy with how the hood looked at first, but now, after I applied the rain marks and it kind of built up over there, gave it a nice, really dirty, like dried leaves kind of looking effect on it. I really like it. There's a type of Citadel effect that I've been wanting to try for car interiors called Agrax Earthshade, I believe it's called. And that gives a very, very dirty look to a vehicle. There is a type of wash that I would use for some vehicles. I've been using them on my Batmobiles, like the Tumblers and the Justice League Batmobile. And that is Citadel Null Oil, and I'm currently out of it. I really recommend that. In terms of the chassis, now I didn't complete what I was saying, I noticed in the footage. I'm not really going to worry too much about the chassis, because the chassis doesn't really have too many places for me to, start adding mud and stuff like that. I'm going to try as best as I can, but it's not too bad. I mean, it's kind of bad. So next what we're going to do is start doing mud on the vehicle. So let's go ahead and do that. For the mud, we're going to be using Citadel Sterland Mud. And what this has is, I'm going to go ahead and open it up. This has sand mixed in with the paint. And what that does is that it gives it a very chunky look to it. And I'm going to go heavy with this stuff. So don't be afraid of it, just because you can go ahead and just make your vehicle look as muddy as you really want. So we're going to go ahead and just pick it up, kind of, tire goes like that, so sort of just kick it up like that. And I'm going to go ahead and get all around the fender here. This brush really sucks though. It's so just like destroyed. I guess I could try to get inside there as well. Just trying to kick it up on the back of the vehicle there. Let's see. That kind of gives that good effect of mud. That didn't really work out that great because of the brush. But I'm going to try not going as heavy. And there you go. That's how you do some mud. Let's try it on this side now. And this blue is just really, really cool. Let's just go ahead and just boop. There you go. You kind of get the gist of what I'm doing here with the mud. This is way too good of stuff for a car that does not deserve it. For a model kit that does not deserve it, rather. Kind of got out of focus there. And there you go. It really dries in a very chunky kind of look to it. So it really gives that effect of, you know, nasty mud all over the vehicle. This side we went heavy on, but you know what? Who says you need to be consistent with mud, right? And that's pretty much what I did for weathering on a lot of my vehicles. That recent yellow Charger, the Dystopian Daytona, all follow the same similar pattern where this is what I do for the weathering. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's a little something different, but yeah, I really, really like the way that this this Monaco turned out, considering I built it with pretty much mostly stock parts. And that machine gun is off of another kit. That's off of the 89 Batmobile kit. And I'm glad that those things are not being wasted. It's still on the sprue that I just cut it and shaped it to fit the vehicle. Now what I'm going to do is just double check everything and make sure that I'm not missing any little shiny parts here and there just in case, like on the chrome or something. And if it is, I'll dull it down with some AK Interactive Rust Streaks. So it's just a little small process and everything. But as for the chassis, I don't think I'm going to go too heavy with mud or anything because I'm not really too worried about the chassis, like I've said before, because it looks really shitty. But yeah, that's pretty much how I do my weathering. I even went through a lot of efforts on this kit, which I really shouldn't have. Like, I bent the steering wheel upwards because the way that the steering wheel is on the kit, it would be right in the driver's legs, and I made it look like it's actually drivable. So, spending way too much time into a kit that really doesn't deserve it, but my love for Dodge Monacos and old cop cars got the better of me with this one. So, yeah, that is pretty much it for the Dodge Monaco. And I will see you guys in the next video. Let me know what you guys think.